Alright guys, we have here today 2008 BMW 750 Li, and we have a big job right here, like gonna take a couple days. Overall, we're gonna do both valve cover gaskets, upper timing chain cover gaskets. We'll replace the coolant transfer pipe with the expendable kit, so you see that as well. And the last thing we'll do is alternator bracket gasket. So we'll start today with the valve cover gaskets, upper timing chain gaskets, and the coolant transfer pipe. Let's get to it. So we're gonna start by removing all the plastic things and unnecessary things. I'll start by this air intake boxes, air filter boxes. So I'll start with this just top part, then take all this 4 Torx 30 screws out. Remove this one as well. Simple stuff. Disconnect the muff sensor. And then take this one off. So after I take these 4 bolts out, I'll just leave it, slide it, and it's free to go. So we're gonna remove it right now. So after we remove this air intake thing, I'll take off the boxes. They held by just 2 bolts right here. Phillips bolts. It's just easier to remove this way, top first and then the bottom. We're gonna need this removed definitely for actually upper timing chain gasket replacement. And here it is. I'm gonna do the same with the other side. That's it. Alright, the next thing we're gonna do is remove this whole thing, starting with the rubber. And then this whole panel held by 4 10mm bolts. That's the only thing that holds it. So just gonna remove those. Let's see, this sensor is not in place anymore. And we don't have the cabin filter in there, but to remove the cabin filter, it's pretty simple. You just lift it up and that's it. Okay, come over here. Next thing, we're gonna need to remove this air duct, and the only thing that holds it is Torx 25 right here, this bolt. So we're gonna take it out, remove this thing, and then remove this thing, because the only thing after that it would be just snap it out of the bracket. Okay, so I removed this Torx 25 and now it's ready to come out. It comes out like this. And that's it. We can disconnect it, leave it on, doesn't really matter. Next thing, take this out. You just need to slide it out, and that's it. There's a bracket right here, so when you put it back on, just snap it into the bracket, and that's pretty much it. One thing I forgot, this whole thing is held by 1 on each side, Torx 30 bolts right here. So that would be this one. 1 on this side and 1 on the other side. So now we're just gonna remove this whole thing, just like that. It gives us plenty of access everywhere. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is disconnect all the electrical connections and this hoses right here, like everything we can do. So valvetronic motor, this thing, the sensor right here in the back, just be careful with it. Can easily break, but it always disconnects, nice and easy. Then there's 2 camshaft position sensors, and I like to use this tool right here to pry it out a little bit and just slide it off like this. Same thing with the bottom one. And this thing, well, originally you have to press it and slide it out, but it's kind of like an old thing, so I'll just do like this, one side, and where this goes, here it is. So it's now moved. Same with Well, right here actually you can press and push, but still kind of hard. So just do it one side, hold it, and then the other side. And here comes the third. Once again, do one side a little bit. That's how easy to remove those things. Next thing we're going to remove is those two bolts, this one and this one. And I want you to be very careful with it because they are really easy to strip and they're usually tight. So it's Torx 25. We'll put it right here and make it as firm as possible. Press on the ratchet like, oh, this one's not tight, and then you go. That's it, there you go. Now we're just ready to take them out. When you put them back on, do not over tight them because, as I said, they're really easy to strip and pain in the ass to get out then. Right, next thing we're gonna do ignition coils. Real nice and simple, goes like this. And I use the screwdriver like that to press it against the valve cover to take it out. But those three are simple. This one is hard to get out, but I'll show you how to do that. Why? Because there's not enough room in here. So, how crazy that sounds, the only thing you need to do is to remove this thing right here before you remove the last ignition coil on the driver's side. And after that, still gonna be a little bit of hustle, but here you go. If this thing would be here, it would just stuck and you could not remove that. Those two are easy, so same way. Now always pull straight up, don't bend, just like that. All four got out, and now we can remove this thing. Electrical connection. Now use the screwdriver right here. Okay. So this one out, we'll put it aside for right now and remove the next one, put it fully out. Well, next thing I'll do, I want to clear my way when I'm going to pull the valve cover, so I'll remove this power steering reservoir. It's two 10mm nuts, one here, one there. Then also I'm going to disconnect this hose right here, take it out of the way. It's the same quick release connector right here. In this case, we'll push and pull. Just like that. This out, and we're gonna move this away somewhere right here. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is, you see I just moved it a little bit here so I can gain access to those bolts right there, and then I'm gonna move it around here and there. So right now we're gonna disconnect everything from here to clear the way. This is the vacuum line to the vacuum pump right here, which is like really messed up, but doesn't care. And I'm gonna disconnect the purge valve electrical connector, move it out of the way, and there is connectors for the vanna solenoids, so I'm just gonna take them out of this bracket, wires, and put them aside. That's it. All this for to gain access to these three bolts, just to take everything out of the way. Next thing, we're going to remove this holding bracket of the eccentric shaft sensor. It's E7, so just two bolts holding it. One right here, the other one right here. It also might be a good idea to remove this camshaft position sensors. Same E7, one goes here, just one bolt on each, but I'm not going to do that. We'll remove it without it. So I'm just going to take this bracket off, and that's it. Bolts are removed, and it's just easy. Turn it, then take it off. Next thing, I'm going to remove the valvetronic motor, and it's 4 Allen bolts right here, but I'm going to use Torx 25, which fits perfectly fine. And it also holds the bolts. So, the back ones first. This one and the one in the back. And then the front ones. When I move to the last bolt, you see the valvetronic motor. Well, this one doesn't really move, but it can jump at any minute, so I'm just gonna hold it with my hand, take the bolt out. Okay, so this motor didn't jump, so you can take it off by unscrewing it counterclockwise, or when you feel the tension when you're removing the last bolt, it will just jump like this, but it doesn't go too far. After that, we have another 4 Torx 25 right here, which we're going to remove. And remove this whole thing. So now all the bolts removed, and we can easily just take it out. And take this gasket out, which is really brittle. You can see, just like that, cracks. Alright, so I just disconnected the negative cable of the battery, and now we're ready to disconnect this fuel line. So it's very simple. Take this one out, and then push the hose forward, press this black thing in, and that's it. It's disconnected. There's leftover of the fuel. Just drain it on the ground, and we can put it right here. So the next thing, like let's say we removed all the bolts that hold the valve cover. What we need to do is take it off, and this hose right here is going to be on the way. So you either remove the fuel rail itself, it's just 2 bolts right here, or you just move this hose, like bend it a little bit, and it's going to work just fine. What we're going to do is we're going to later on remove the intake manifold and everything, so I'm just going to do it right now. I remove this 4 bolts right here first that holds this electrical units in here, and I'm going to remove the fuel rail fully. So that's going to help us to take off the valve cover. птички разговаривают. Это все будет в перемотке? Не, пусть снимает. Почему пахнет кукушкой? Все, стопэ. Давай, дальше сюда. So what we have left is those 10mm bolts and nuts right here. So it's 8 visible right here, 4 on the bottom, 4 on top. Then there are bolts 1, 2, 3, and 4 right here, and there's a 5th bolt not visible at all right here in the middle. So removal of the bolt is pretty simple, like of those 4, these 2, and I'm going to show you how to remove this one and this 2 right here. So I removed everything, but we have left 1, 2, and the 3rd bolt right here. So you can remove those with a 10mm small wrench or just using this one. Put it on, break it loose. Now it's easy to remove just by fingers, just like that. Usually, like the old grommets for those bolts, they crack, they're really hard, so they move with the bolt. This is the one, and this one, there is a little holes on the way, but still pretty much the same. Break it loose. Now you can remove it just with your fingers, just like that. Okay, and for the last one, I use this smallest extension, still the same ratchet. And what I like to do is usually to put this on first, kind of like feel the bolt. Yep, it's on. From this point on, I can use just a small ratchet or a couple more extensions so I can take it out from here. But this time I'm gonna do just the ratchet. So ratchet is on. Same tactics. Break it loose. Now I can take the ratchet off. Put it back here. And just use my fingers to take it all the way out. Just spend a little more time in here. A couple extra turns will not hurt. You just need to make sure this bolt is completely out. You might be able to take it out, but might not. doesn't matter. Just take it out, otherwise it will get stuck. There is a possibility to break the valve cover while removing it. So now I feel it's like completely out, but I'm still turning it. That's it, that's enough. It's loose. So right now nothing holds the valve cover anymore. As you can see, we removed the fuel rail entirely, and we're gonna remove the valve cover now. Alright, so remove the valve cover. It's definitely gonna be sticky, stuck right here. So just do it slow, and you don't want to break this sensor. So I'm gonna use the breaker bar. I don't want to damage anything, so I'm just gonna pry a little bit. Not much force. I don't put much force anywhere. I just want to make sure. I'm going to use a screwdriver to pick it up from this side, from the bottom. Using the screwdriver and my hand to lift it from the bottom. One thing that holds it is the spark plug tubes in the middle. That's why you hear that noise. And when they start to give up, you'll be able to move the valve cover a little bit. And now, what's important, that's it. So how do we move the valve cover out? I'll take the oil dipstick out first and push it a little bit back right here. So I'm gonna So there's going to be a coolant hose, heater hose right here in the back. That's kind of gonna don't let the valve cover go, and also the heater valve. The heater valve is easy to remove. Just lift it up and push it down, so we can move the valve cover. And this hose in the back, push it down too. Still here. Okay, so what do we now have here is the spark plug tubes. In order to remove the valve cover entirely, I'll just take those tubes out of the valve cover. Trying to reach the last one. Yep, and I'm able to. Here's the last one. Because the front one is right here. Doesn't give us trouble. So now we're ready to completely remove the valve cover. Just like that, it's out. Alright, so what you see right now, this, you need to clean all this out. Don't let it go inside the engine. This is what's left from here. So this is why when you take it out, it's like kind of cracking, you hear it. Old rubber becomes brittle. And we need to remove it from every one of them. Here, on the bottom is easier, just drop it to the floor. Out of the engine. Whatever you see, just take it out. If a little bit like falls in, not big deal, like you don't have to take engine apart. It will just go down to the oil pan and gonna sit there. Nothing's gonna be broken, but just clean as much as you can. That's all I'm asking. What we're gonna do now is remove the old valve cover, which is, oh yeah, it's crazy brittle. And put the new one in. Wow, this is just crazy old. You see, it's cracking everywhere. I can't even take it in one piece. Really old valve cover gasket, leaking a lot of oil. This is it. Like everywhere I go, it cracks. Cracks. Remove the old bolts because, as you know, the new valve cover comes with new bolts, 5 bolts, and grommets on these bolts. So yeah, now it's free of the old valve cover. It's good time to clean it all out with the carb cleaner, and that's it. We're gonna clean it up and put the new valve cover on. I'll show you how. So what we're gonna do now is apply a little bit of a silicone in here just to hold the gasket in place. And I'm gonna leave the valve cover with the new gasket on and the silicone for about 30 minutes to an hour. At this time, I can do like the other side, the other valve cover, or I can do the upper timing chain cover, so I don't lose time at all. So what we're gonna do is apply it on every corner, a little bit, not much. Don't use too much silicone, it's never good. And apply more on the bottom, like because it's easy to snap in there. On top you can see, on the bottom you can't. So you need to make sure when you put the valve cover back on, the gasket stays in place. And the corner right here. I don't worry much about the top, so I just put 2 in here. And then we use Victor Ryan's products. Really good gaskets. They'll last you for about 8,000 miles. So here it is. As you can see, the gasket is not that tight. That's why we need the silicone, because it's kind of tricky to put this valve cover back on. So we need the gasket to stick to the valve cover. So just push it in and let it sit for about 30 minutes. Probably better. Longer you let it sit is better, always. And as you can see right here in the kit, we have all the grommets, bolts, and the other seals. But I'll talk about this later on. So I'm gonna leave it right here in the sun, and we'll go do something else. Alright, meanwhile we'll let our valve cover dry with the gasket. We're gonna do the upper timing chain cover gasket. It's the one between this thing and the cylinder head. In order to do so, I'm gonna need to, on this side, driver's side, I'm gonna need to move the alternator a little bit, because we're gonna be needing to access to the bolt, and the alternator just blocks it. So I'm going to remove the alternator a little bit, even though I can remove it completely because I will do the alternator bracket gasket later on. I'm just showing you how to do it if you don't have to do this and just want to replace the valve covers and upper timing chain gaskets. So first thing, I'm going to remove the belt. This is a Torx 60 socket. You put it on the side right here, and then you turn it clockwise, like you're tightening it. Clockwise, slide it out. That's it. That's all we need to know. Now we can remove the belt entirely. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just take one alternator bolt out. I'm using a 16mm socket and medium size extension. I'm going to remove the upper bolt completely, and I'm going to loosen the bottom one. It's right under tensioner, so it's right here in our 16mm. So I just loosen it, and this one I'll take off completely. I'm gonna need to do that because I'll just need to move the alternator, this direction, so it gives me access to the bolt. Okay, the next thing we need to move is the purge valve, and it's connected to the intake manifold right here with the clip connector, but we don't have much access. And I will need to remove the throttle body anyway, so it's just 10, as usual, 10 millimeter nuts, 4 of them, as always. We remove the throttle body, and then the same way we removed all these fast connectors, we'll just remove it and take it completely out to gain access to the upper timing chain cover. Alright, so next thing we're going to remove is those two 10 millimeter bolts that hold kind of vanna solenoids in place. Standard connectors in here. Push the bracket, slide it out, kind of thing. I'm gonna use the screwdriver for that. There we go. And then, well, we're gonna need to remove the vanna solenoids entirely, and later on we're gonna need to move this positive cable that goes to the alternator. If you're doing the alternator bracket gasket, you can remove it entirely. It's going to be a lot easier. Maybe we're going to do this, maybe not, I'm not sure yet. Alright, so remove those brackets, and now we are ready to remove the solenoids. What I do is just using a screwdriver, just pry it out. Take one out. And do the same thing with another. So those solenoids exactly the same, so it's no big deal. Like, you can mix them, put the exhaust to the intake, and nothing's gonna happen. It's not like you have to keep notes where you take this one or that one out. This one's stubborn. And that's it. Okay, so I took this bolt out, this one and this one on top, the long bolts, and the rest of them is just like this one. So that's the only thing you have to remember, long and short. Longer on top. Well, anyways, the rule is easy. It's never going to fit in here. It's going to screw it in, but it's not going to go all the way in. So this is the only place for this bolt. That's pretty much it. And this one will never get to it. You can't put it in there. So it's a simple logic how to not mix the bolts. So we removed the easiest bolts, just like 3 in here, and we're moving to the harder reachable bolts. So this one, you can't put it in, so we need to take this hose, not the hose, the wire. It's a positive wire that goes to the alternator. I need to move it out of these brackets. Start somewhere here. Now we moved it up, so we have access to this bolt right here, and the bottom one as well. Both bolts really easy to access, and the hardest one would be the one right here. We moved the alternator just a little bit, so you see I put my socket right here and it doesn't go in. That means we need to move it more. I'll use just a regular screwdriver right here to move it all the way as it's possible, because I didn't remove the bottom bolt, so it just moves. Now, as you can see, I'm firm on the bolt and it's loosened. I removed the ratchet and now I can take it out completely. Still better if you put some pressure on the alternator, and be careful with this bolt. If you drop it, you'll have to remove the alternator for sure. Maybe you'll get lucky and it falls on the ground. Yep, just like with me. Keep your magnet handy. That's what we're going to use right now. So I dropped the bolt, but I'm using my magnet trying to reach it, to find it. I didn't hear it going far, so yep, and I got the bolt. Saved the day. Here it is. Alright, so there is only 2 more bolts left. And this is one of them. And the other one is a little bit tricky, but not that much. This one right here. Up, here you go. So now I'm just gonna take off. That's it. And when I do, I'll show you how to take off the upper timing chain cover. Okay, so the last bolt's removed. There is a little bracket here, and here how it goes. Real simple, just like that. And we need to remove, here's the gasket, the old one. So remove it from here, and the other point is right on top. Is it good? Is it bad? If I can break it like this, you see the cracks. Yep, it's definitely not good, just cracking. Same as the valve cover gasket. This is trash. So we got a new gasket in here, and the easiest way to put it back on is just to put the gasket first. And put it on this little metal things right here and right here. So it's solid, it's not going anywhere. And now, after we cleaned a bit like our upper timing chain cover, we'll just slide it back in. And this gasket is simple, it's not going anywhere, so just slide it back in and bolt it on. It's little brackets here on the way, so we need to take this to account. It's like the one from the cable and the other one that holds the alternator cable. You see this? Here's the gasket right here. That means it couldn't be moved, and it's all good. Now we just have to put all the bolts back in, and that's it with the upper timing chain cover gasket on this side. Все. Прикручивается обратно.
Ставьте на камеру.
Если хочешь.
Ну, тоже будешь ставить?
Ну, поставь.
Слушай, прикольно, когда такой забыстренный. Вот эту штучку будешь делать?
Ну, то, что ты снимал, ставлю обратно. Real easy.
Вот тебе давай.
Okay, so on this side we removed everything exactly the same, like 4 bolts, Torx 25 here, those two. Then I removed Torx 25 2 bolts right here from this expansion tank, coolant expansion tank. This way I can move it. Take this hose out. I can move it right here. The next thing, I'm gonna take this 10mm bolt right here so I can lift a little bit the ABS module, and exactly as on the previous side, we're gonna remove the ignition coils, and exactly like on this other side, we're still gonna have to take this thing out to remove the number 4 coil, because I'll show you right now, if we don't do that, it's just not gonna go anywhere. Now let me take this one out. This coil for cylinder number 3, nice and easy, and this is number 4. So you see, actually it moves here. Nice. Well, that's good. So we're removing all the coils, but on the other side it's definitely, because of this little thing, it wouldn't be able to take off. And number 1. So all 4 coils out. We take electrical connection thing out as well. All right, there you go. Nothing on the way. You can move it anywhere you want. So next we're gonna take this camshaft position sensors connectors out, just as before, and we have access to all of the bolts. They all at the same spots. The one right here more visible and can be accessed right from here, so I'll show you this just in a bit when I remove all this easy accessible bolts. So I removed all easy accessible bolts right on top here, 4 in here, so we're left with 5 bolts. And those are not that tricky also, so just a regular, same way we did it on the other side. And this one right here, this side is actually, passenger side is simpler than driver's side. Okay, I got this in there, and let me see, because we can just put a little bit, yep, just like that. I can take this bolt right from here. The main thing is keep it straight, so don't let it bend, so you don't ruin the bolt, and it's gonna be real hard to get it out. But as I said, passenger side is simpler than the driver's side. Now it feels like the bolt completely loose, and we're gonna take this 4 out, and I'll show you a little trick and necessary thing to do to remove the valve cover. So we got this hook right here. This one is to hold the engine in the air just the same as on this side. In order to remove the valve cover, we need to just bend it a little bit back. And how to do so? I usually got this really long extension, I mean the longest one we have. Put it right here and just bend it like that, and then you just put it back on. Nice and easy. Doesn't damage anything. It's nothing to do with the engine performance or whatnot. It's just like the hook on 2 bolts. That's it. Nothing else. So.
Голова что заболелась, всего находится.
От чего? Это же двигатель. потом будем еще в дальнейшем твое корыто снимать. А в твоем корыте мы что будем делать?
Двигатель менять.
Coil man gasket. Снимать подрамник. Понимаешь? Тебе придется сниматься это с пола.
Я думаю, что это надо попробовать.
Как пожелаете. Мне, в принципе, хоть не телефон. Главное показать, что, где, как, зачем, почему, за
Если
что.
мне машина упадет.
М?
Если мне машина упадет.
Как?
Я не смогу ее выдержать.
То есть, по-твоему, мы... Во-первых, тебе не нужно быть там со мной. Я там буду, между прочим. И я, как вы знаете, могу выдержать машину. Во-вторых, она будет на джекстендах на асфальте. А с ней в этом случае ни хера не может произойти. Так хули он раз делал? Так, что у нас тут? Все готово. Давай, камцумир. Хасьяку. А с этой стороны лучше. Снимать. Alright, so everything's removed. Now we can take off the valve cover. Once again, try with the hands first. Really tight. We have a breaker bar, but don't force it too much, just a little bit. And we'll try from the bottom. The most thing that holds it is these spark plug tubes. So exactly the same as on the other side. We take it from the top, but we'll take it from the bottom as well with a screwdriver, here with the hand. Don't force it too much, don't break the plastic of the valve cover, so just slowly, little by little. I don't put much force in here. This noise coming from spark plug tubes. And here we go. All right, what's next? Okay. We got all the tubes holding to the valve cover right now, and what we need to do is remove them. How do we remove them? It's either by prying the valve cover like this, like going back and forth. Remember about the sensor, eccentric shaft sensor in the back, so you don't want to break that. You hear that noise? That means it's out of place, it's moving. This is good. And if you can access it from here, which is we can't right now, you can take it out, but we'll continue doing so. Yep. You see, now we can move it. And all we need to do, just move it out of the way. Two more in the back. Yep, they are out. So right now, just need to move the valve cover. Same way, turn and twist. Valve cover's out. So the next, I put the valve cover gasket on the valve cover, same way as the other one. So I let it dry, and meanwhile we're gonna do upper timing chain cover gasket on this side. Also, we're gonna replace the vacuum pump O-ring, and just underneath it is the oil pressure switch. So this is the most common places where the oil leaks. And to remove this pump, we're using E8 again. It's just 3 bolts, 2 very obvious, like right on top right here, and the one, just follow the bracket, it's right here underneath. So it's right here. You can feel it, and if you can feel it, you can take it off. So we took all the bolts out, and now we just need to take this pump, just slide it out. I can see someone put silicone in there, which is why it's not moving easy. In this case, I'm going to use the pry bar to take it out just a bit. Nasty. Who did that? And it's out. A lot of silicone in there. So now we can move it somewhere. I'll just put it down right here, out of the way. The next thing we're gonna do, standard at this on the other side, remove 10mm bolts on here from vanna solenoid brackets. Remove the vanna solenoids, disconnect them. Here's you can see if I remove disconnect. Here's the oil pressure switch. Leaks a lot of oil all the time, right here. So we're gonna replace that as well. And this side, all the bolts are easy accessible, right here, there, underneath, everywhere. So we don't need to remove anything else, just the wires and those simple things. And once we did that, we'll come back. Alright, so we removed all the bolts, and now just simply take the cover out. I'm gonna clean it and take the gasket out. That's it. Check for condition, cracks, bad, no good. Alright, so right now we're gonna remove the oil pressure switch, and this is a 24mm deep socket like this. And just put it on. And this is it. The new sensor usually comes as a 22mm, but I think this one is 24 as well. Yep, this one is 24. So, real quick comparison, all the same, and we put it back on. Alright, so we put the new gasket and upper timing chain cover on, and we're going to put the vanna solenoids and the pump on its place. But the thing is, you see right here, this is where a part of the vacuum pump goes. Check this out. This part, it should slide in. So what I'm going to do, I put it in a position like this, vertical. And I'm gonna do this by turning the crankshaft and rotating the engine. So this one's gonna be straight, and after that I'm gonna just slide it in, and I will have access from here because the valve cover is removed, so I can see where it goes. So this is what we're gonna do. Alright, so we put the solenoids back in, and I didn't show you on the other side, but make sure they all the way in, so you don't see any o-ring in here like they fully pressed in, because if they not, they're gonna cause a lot of malfunctions, and you will be able even to put these brackets on and tighten it fully, but if they not on like completely, it's gonna cause trouble. So make sure they all the way in. All right, so we got the gasket in. I'll turn this vertical, and as you can see, it's the same in here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just slide it in. Okay, so we have this thing, and now I can move it a little bit, and it's on. So when it's on, we can just move the pump and put it back. All right, so we got our driver's side valve cover completely dry. It doesn't fall off, not even if I try it. So we're gonna install the valve cover right now. It's completely dry, it doesn't fall off at all. And first of all, we install the spark plug tubes in here, so they completely popped in. We lubricate these wells with the oil, so it slides in better. And this is how we're gonna do it. Remove the oil dipstick again. You see, we go around the sensor in the back, and then just rotate it nice and smooth, taking the electrical connections out. Make sure the gasket stays in place. And we're almost done here. So now the only thing that matters, the spark plug wells going exactly into the valve cover, and this is how it goes. Just make sure all of them are in the right place, and then you can press from top and the bottom to make sure they all the way in. Might not gonna be easy, but this is the way it's supposed to be. And take a look right here, very close. So you see, the way I understand the valve cover gasket and the valve cover is fully seated is if this thread sticks out of the hole a little bit. So if I move my finger around it, it sticks out. That means when I put the new grommet in, the bolt will be able to stick in there. Because if it would be just like a little bit out, like let's see, the back one's usually not that sticking out. So you start with the one that sticks out, put the bolts in, and you're good to go. And also, there is a difference between the upper bolts and the lower ones. Like I'm talking about this 8, this bolts like this. So the upper ones, they're longer. Let me see. Here it is. So here's the difference. The upper ones longer, and the ones at the bottom, they short. They should be like this, and you use a new grommet with a short bolt. It sticks really good. Okay, so what I did first is install these 5 new bolts in here. It's 4 here and 1 in the back. I just tightened them a little bit so the valve cover doesn't go anywhere. And now we can install the grommets. As you can see, all the grommets are the same, exactly the same size, so they go all, and it doesn't matter which ones are upper or lower. Install them nice and easy, and then we're gonna start with the lower bolts. Okay, we got the grommets. And now here's the bolts. The upper ones and the lower one. Short and long. Also make sure 2 long ones have thread in it. That's for the middle. remember, for the wire. So we'll take the short one and put it in the first grommet and slightly turn it by hand. I'll continue to do it with the rest of them. And the last one. This is really important to do first because this is the hardest part, these bolts right there. Like I'm gonna tighten them, like put them on so I know the bolt is on the thread. Yeah, I know for sure this one is on. This one's on, and so on. Now let's continue. Good. Okay, so all the lower bolts are on. I'm going to install the upper ones and then we'll start tightening it. And I'll start with the back one over there, then crossing here, like 3 bolts here. Then I'm going to do 2 bolts on the bottom, 2 bolts on top, 2 bolts on the bottom, 2 bolts on top. That's it. All right, so the valve cover is on. Everything's good there. The next thing we're going to do is install this seal first. It's a new seal, so lubricated in oil. And we put this on. This is the way it's supposed to be done. So just a little force in here, and I can spin it. So now it sits good, make sure it does. And you can align it with the bolts. This one went in, this one too. 2 is in, the rest is simple. So yep, they go in, tighten it up, that's it. Okay, so we're gonna do everything exactly the same on this side. Gasket sticks, everything good. We lubricated it with oil. Spark plug tubes installed. And we're doing pretty much the same thing. Putting in the back, around the eccentric shaft sensor. And then just twist it. Like that. Nice and easy. Put it on. Make sure it meets all of the spark plug tubes. And push it. Then on both sides, up and down. Press it hard. Okay, now we see that the bolts right here, the threads, don't stick out. What that means is the valve cover doesn't sit right. So we're gonna push it a little bit more on both sides, up and down. And if this doesn't help, we can always do this. So put the pry bar somewhere and just push it against. Don't put too much force in it. Usually the back ones doesn't stick, so put it on the back here. Be gentle, and it's all going to be just fine. So now the threads stick out. I know for sure the bottom bolts will sit in just right, and we can install these 4 bolts in here, one on the back, and start with the bottom as well. Exactly the same as on the other side. Okay, so we completed the valve cover gasket and upper timing chain cover gaskets replacement. It's not finished, of course, but there is not much left to do, like install the valvetronic motors and like all this plastic and all whatnot. we're not gonna show you how to do that, like, but it's pretty basic and simple because I'm gonna remove the intake manifold. That's why I need the fuel rail off, like, and all whatnot. Like in the next video, I'll show you how to replace the coolant transfer pipe, the most common BMW leak, and we're gonna replace it with the expandable pipe. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching.